Hello, folks, and welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Colonel Chris Wyatt, retired U.S. Army, in central Pennsylvania, with an update on this truly strange and bizarre situation. Well, unless you understand what's really going on here. It's a cover-up. It's Russiagate. They're calling it Lady R Gate, but really it should be called Russiagate. Well, this is a situation after United States Ambassador to South Africa, Ruben Brigidi, a veteran ambassador, who had a press conference earlier in the week in which he revealed that the United States government had evidence that South Africa had transferred weapons and munitions to Russia via the Lady R ship, which was docked in Simonstown in the dark of night, transferring equipment in December of 2022. Now, at the time, and the story was mentioned in the press, but no serious effort was made to investigate what's going on. Since then, subsequently, after Brigidi's disclosure this week in which he claimed the U.S. government had evidence, of course, didn't produce the evidence, but he claimed that the U.S. government has evidence. In the interest of full disclosure, he was once my ambassador. I worked directly for him as a senior military advisor to the U.S. mission to the African Union. So I do know Ambassador Brady on a professional and personal level. He was asked by the media at his press conference how confident he was in the intelligence, to which he answered, "I would stake my life on it." Well, I know Ruben Brigidi. He is a political creature, and he wouldn't make a statement like that at such a risk to his future and political ambitions unless he was told to by Washington and or he had the evidence of smoking gun. So what's going on with South Africa? Well, the South African government now has denied that it approved the export of arms to Russia since the invasion of last year. But on Thursday, it announced it would establish an independent inquiry to establish the facts around Brigidi's allegations. And Ambassador Brigidi was summoned to DIRCO. That's the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. That's the Foreign Ministry of South Africa. Now, why has the South African government established a commission of inquiry? Initially, it simply refused to answer this question. Now it's denied that it sold arms. But investigative reporting from News 24 seems to indicate that that's just a bunch of hooey. The reports from News 24 seem to indicate that, in fact, South African records do not match statements made in Parliament by members of the government who deny selling weapons, but the records seem to show that that is, in fact, the case. Weapons approved for Belarus and for Russia after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, why does this matter? Well, quite frankly, and we'll get some hate wankers in South Africa who will come back and say, well, you should look to your own affairs. You're an American. Yeah. Yes, I am. A retired U.S. Army colonel. And I have looked to my own affairs. And I have castigated the Biden regime for its proxy war in Ukraine, leading to the death of thousands of men, women, and children and soldiers, needlessly. They're fueling a campaign, a conflict that's simply a distraction from what they're really doing around the world. And this is facilitated by NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a defensive alliance, now on the offense, stripping weapons out of Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, Hungary, and the United States, Germany, Britain, and shipping them to fuel a conflict in Ukraine. So I have castigated these folks. But the reason I'm castigating South Africa is not because they're doing the same. I really don't give a flip about South Africans selling firearms to Russia or China for that matter. This is something that can only be fixed by the removal of the Biden regime and the corrupt members of the Congress in the Democratic and Republican Party. And then a restructuring of NATO. That's the only way to fix this. Or simply both sides collapse from exhaustion. But the reason that I take issue with South Africa is they're simply lying to themselves and to the world. And they take people for fools, and I'm tired of it. In the aftermath of the meeting between Brigidi and the officials from DIRCO, someone claimed that he apologized unreservedly for crossing the line. What line did Ruben Brigidi cross? Decorum? Perhaps. Legal? Not a single thing under the Vienna Conventions was violated here. It is the prerogative of a foreign embassy to disclose information about a government when it feels the government has run rogue or it's misleading people. Now, the ship in question, Lady R, was sanctioned back in 2022 because it's believed to be shipping arms to Russia. South Africa finds itself at the center of a controversial situation because it's claimed by the United States that weapons were supplied to Russia. Now, interestingly enough, Cyril Ramaphosa doesn't have any key economic and international advisors around him. Now, this water-carrying story from News 24, I guess, meant to be balanced for their investigative reporting. It's actually indicating that it seems the ANC is actually doing this, supplying arms. So I suppose this is the counterbalance to show that they're objective, but it's not objective. Not objective at all. I mean, what's the deal here? Why Does it matter that Ramaphosa doesn't have his advisors around him? Does a president need a team of underlings to make decisions? Or frankly, to simply answer questions? Now, we know that's the case with Joe Biden. He can't get out of bed without massive assistance from staff and people covering for his backside. But Ramaphosa needs a staff around him to answer the question. Here's the question. President Ramaphosa, did South Africa, contrary to its public pronouncements of neutrality in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and contrary to international sanctions against a Russian defense contractor which docked in Simonstown in the dark of night, did the African National Congress-led government of South Africa supply arms and ammunition to the Russian Federation since the outset of this conflict? Pretty simple question. And the answer should be, no, we didn't. It's not the norm. We are neutral in this. But of course, they can't answer that question. So with smoke and mirrors and obfuscation, they blame the United States. They blame Brigitte. They claim he's apologized to give the indication that he was wrong. He's not wrong. Some analysts are saying that this will put the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act at risk for South Africa. Well, quite frankly, South Africa is not a valid member of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. One of the key tenets of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, public law in the United States, is that African governments, in order to get duty-free access to our market, must respect the rule of law and ensure property rights. The mere instigation of an expropriation without compensation amendment put before the Parliament in 2018 and supported by the African National Congress is indication this government does not believe in the rule of law and has the intent to steal from its own citizens, thereby negating their role in the participation in the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. They should have been removed from it 5 years ago. That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Now, South African regulators in 2022, to show they were neutral in this conflict between Ukraine and Russia, they prevented 893 million rand shipment of arms to Poland just because they might wind up on the battlefields in Ukraine. So they've previously shown that they're neutral by preventing weapons from being shipped to Ukraine through Poland. But now, according to News 24 and the American ambassador, it seems pretty obvious that the ANC is playing a double game, lying to its citizens and obfuscating and lying to the world, shipping arms to Russia. Now, I'll get a lot of South African reactionaries and a lot of even some of my viewers go, so what? Okay, so what? Well, that's the end of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. That's the end of cordial relations between the Biden regime and South Africa. That's your issue, not mine. The bottom line here is that the South African government is full of patent liars, according to the U.S. government and News 24. We'll see where it goes from here, folks.